All right. Hi, everyone. Those who are here and those who are watching on replay. Today, I thought it could be fun. There are a few different options. I thought it could be fun to continue working on cabins from our last live drawing session, if that's something that you want to do. I think I'm going to probably be doing that. Otherwise, I was thinking you could continue the cozy little art cafe illustration, which we started. Was it 2 months ago? Something like that. Or just do your own thing, which is cool too. I actually also was thinking that it could be fun today to add another constraint. You can choose to use it or not. But I don't know if you've heard of the 3 materials challenge on Instagram. I'm trying to remember. I took a screenshot on my phone, but now my phone is up for, the thing, so I can't check it. I don't remember the 3 illustrators who've created it, but I think one of them is Naomi Tipping, if I'm not mistaken, and then 2 others, or maybe it's just 2. Anyway, they're the ones who created this idea of a 3 materials challenge. And so what that means is literally you take 3. So let's say I could take 1 marker, I don't know, 1 gouache and 1 graphite pencil. And that's the only thing that I'm allowed to use for my drawings. I think you can also choose to just take, I could take 2 markers, but they're just different brands. I'm not entirely sure what the rules are. But I kind of leave it up to you to interpret it the way that you want. But I thought that could be an added little constraint if you're just wanting to more sketch and brainstorm and allow yourself to kind of loosen up or do something different than what you usually do. Obviously, limiting materials is always very fun. And just limiting colors or just limitations in general I find a big source of creativity and innovation within our creative practice. So that was another invitation that I had for today. Let me know in the chat, or you can come off mute actually, since we're a smaller group. It's fine. We can also just hang out and chat. I'm curious to know whether you're going to be working on the cabins or maybe the Cozy Art Cafe illustration or your own thing. And if you're thinking of doing the 3 materials challenge thing. Hi, Laura. I was just actually explaining that I was adding another constraint if you want, where you just use 3 materials. No worries about being late. It's all good. Glad you're here. Cool, Mel. Awesome. Are you doing more of a finished illustration of the cabins or more brainstorming or sketching kind of? Oh, Steph, awesome. Yeah, your black and white squares are so cool. Super fun. Oh, that makes me so happy, Mel, to hear. Yeah, cabins are just they're just an amazing subject. So that's why I also wanted to continue on that vein. But I was also thinking of maybe personally integrating it with some stuff that I've been doing recently, which has been, I think I posted on Instagram recently about it, that I've been doing a lot of leaves that keep coming back. So I don't know, I might try to integrate that and find ways to play around. Oh, yeah, Laura, I saw that you had a Splendid art haul. Exciting. All right, let me know, would you guys prefer a lo-fi playlist or more classical music? Let me know if you have a preference. I'm going to okay. Well, maybe we'll just start off with what's here, which is the lo-fi stuff, and if we want to switch to some classical, then we can. You can let me know if you find the volume like too loud or not. We've got a quick little hour ahead of us, but I'm very excited to be drawing. Oh, and I just wanted to check, like, would you guys like, because I have, you know, the presentation with the cabins, so, and I can actually add myself in there. There we go. Hello. So that would be an option. If you guys want some legit, like, imagery, or I can just show you my sketchbook. Where are we? Woo. We can do that way. Maybe I can just show you these are some, did I share these ones? I don't think these are the ones that I shared on Instagram, but, oh, cool, Mel. Yeah, that could be really fun, for sure, because the distortion is a really, yeah, it's really fascinating because it's like our brain immediately knows that there's something not quite right about it, but it somehow still works a little bit. So that's cool. So yeah, maybe I can just show you the leaves I've been... This one was actually during the Creative Club live session with Skillshare. I'm not super psyched about it, but I don't mind it. But I was just trying to like take inspiration from all these ones, which I'd been drawing from at the botanical garden near where I live, and that has been really inspiring to me. I've been doing a lot of these leaf shapes. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then what I wanted to show you was these little leaves. I really love them. So one of the things that I've been doing a lot is using underlayers and then drawing over them. And I just have been really enjoying the shifts in color and the added complexity within the color that arises. So here you can see that, for example, I did a pink base, and then on the top of that I have these greens, and so it mutes the colors a little bit. This one's obviously way brighter. I have another one somewhere. Maybe not in this sketchbook. Yeah, it must be somewhere else. This I don't like, but I was just trying to see what it would look like, so. Alright, let's get some creating done. Maybe I'll put myself in the corner here. I actually, over the past few days, have been completely reorganizing my studio. To kind of support me in one of my creative goals, which is to be drawing more. And I'm very psyched about how I changed things up. I actually took videos last night that I was thinking I might share on Instagram. I'm curious if that's something that you've done before, like reorganizing your studio. Yeah, Steph, I'm the same. Steph's saying I need to do it again, organizing, but each time I think I've found the right way, I end up making a mess again. I need to find a way that works. You know, I almost wonder whether it's not that there's one right way to do it, but it's just that it's like part of the flux of a creative, and that, you know, it's actually like just like a natural offshoot of our creative, chaotic minds. And so in that sense, maybe it's like an opportunity to just reevaluate whenever you do it. It's one of the things that I noticed when I was working on my reorganization the past 2 days is I was wondering, like, why have I not done this earlier? I'd been thinking about it for months and months and months. And it just immediately made me feel much more, like, I don't know, like just to remember the possibilities and, I guess my point is just that I wonder if it's not just something that it's good to have as an ingrained part of our practice, and to see that as being part of the creative process is like reorganizing our studios, you know, to adjust with our moving goalposts, because I think as creatives, especially if you're the kind of creative that's similar to me, where you do a lot of different things and different things capture your interest at different times, that having this regular reorganization is also a realignment with what your new goal is. I don't know. I could be wrong, but... I probably shouldn't be using gouache on this paper of mine because it's super thin paper. I don't know if you can tell, it's not made for this, but... while since I haven't painted with gouache. See, this is what I mean. This is like literally just a consequence of my reorganization yesterday. And it's kind of nice. Yeah, Steph. She says it might also have to do with the fact that I tried too many things, so the things that I need to have on hand differ from one time to the next. Yeah, exactly. Mel says you find supplies you forgot about. Oh my god, yes. So often. It's interesting to some extent. Sometimes I almost like look back with nostalgia on right at the beginning of my art journey when I had like literally no money. And so I had like, you know, maybe 3 art materials. And there was a simplicity in that, you know, and that it wasn't even a question of, okay, what art material am I going to use today? It's just like, well, the one I have, which is, you know, yeah. But I don't know, I do love art supplies so much, and it's so wonderful to be able to play with different textures and colors and stuff, so. But I guess that's just an indication that it's a good thing to constrain ourselves. And I have to admit, it's something that I am still working on a lot, or frequently enough. Where my pencil sharpener went? Oh, here it is. Kind of veering off my plan of making a cabin, but that's all right. way, of course, obviously, if you have any, questions or anything, let me know. I'm really just deciding to dive into the leaves that I was telling you about earlier. Which is fun. I'm gonna be honest, like I've had a pretty rough 2 months, past 2 months I'd say, where I've had like, my symptoms have gotten worse again, which, there are phases during the year when that happens. But so what that just means is that I've been like less connected to my creativity than I would like. So it's nice to also just give it free rein. And that's also one of the things that I was telling myself as I was reorganizing my studios. Like, why didn't I do this earlier? This would have been very helpful. But things take the time that they take sometimes. Oh, Mel, yeah, you were just recently back after 6 months of almost nothing. I hear you. Feels good, doesn't it? It's hard when those spells happen. I think because it's probably such an integral part of the internal health of a creative. I'm happy to say, I guess, that I didn't, it's not like I completely stopped, but it's just been like more tricky, I guess is the word. But it's actually one of the reasons that I hate the whole trope of like the tortured artist. You know what I mean? I hate that because it's like, I find that it's not only like glorifies, mental health issues or challenges that we can all have, but it also like, it like makes it stagnate at the same time. Like it freezes it as like, oh, this is just part of what being creative's like. And I'm like, I call bullshit. Like, I think I'm most creative when I'm well, honestly. But that's not to say that it can't be a very useful tool when you're not doing as well. And that's how I use it, and I think it's very, very powerful, and we shouldn't underestimate that either. Yeah, totally, Mel. Mel's saying it's amazing how I started to feel better, so I started to art again, but doing some art is helping me feel even better. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, totally. It's like, it's just this really weird connection between the two. It's like you need like a minimum amount of wellness. But then also if you're able to, I think, or at least for me personally, when I've been able to get creative even when I'm extremely unwell, it will help me feel better no matter what. So I think the bottom line is like, no matter what, it always helps you feel better. Yeah. But just it gets harder when, yeah, you're not as well. Oh, no, wrong one. Oh, yay, I'm so glad you're obsessed with perspective. That's awesome. I mean, that's amazing because honestly, if you gain that skill, it can really, excuse me, it can really like bring your art to a new level. They're like these things that these certain subjects that you can learn or practice that when you do, they really up your level, and that's one of them I find. Which is fun because it just means you have more tools to play with, like more, it gives you more versatility. And again, like I'm not an expert on perspective at all either, as you saw in my last session where I totally like screwed up the one of the perspectives. But that's the way. Even with just a basic understanding, it really can allow you to do way more than you thought you could. I haven't talked about this much, but I feel like moving forward or advancing our skill set in terms of art really comes down to, no matter how long or how short you've been drawing, to basics. And what I mean by that is that, like, so I've been like drawing and painting for like 12 years now. And what I find myself doing is relearning the basics in greater depth each time. So that's what I mean by the basics. It's like the basics are not basic. There's so much depth to them. And that's one of the things that keeps coming back to me. It's really like this, these like ever deepening layers, which is so amazing. And yeah, that inspiring aspect really keeps me coming back to art as being this really powerful source of not only personal growth, but also like inspiration and expansion and self-knowing. And yeah, I don't know if my sentence made sense, but I think you get a sense of what I mean. And I'm very excited to keep learning new things. I'm actually going to be, so I don't know if you remember that I told you that I was taking a course with this concept artist called Iris Muddy, which was incredible. It was so awesome. And I signed up to another course, not with Iris Muddy, but with this other artist who I'm actually less familiar with. And you might be surprised to hear what it's about, but it's a character course, like learning to draw characters. Because, you know, if you know what I do, you know I don't often do characters. But that's actually also why I signed up, but also because it's something I've always wanted to do. more in depth, but I just have struggled to prioritize learning that on my own time. And so I thought that would be actually a perfect opportunity to have like that added accountability. It's also led by a concept artist, which, as I've said before, are some of the most skilled image makers, I would say, today, like, that exist. Just because of the nature of the job that they do, they have to be very good at all the different aspects of image building and just this really deep understanding of it. Which, I'm going to be honest, I find is, and I don't know if you agree with this, I don't know if you're all on Skillshare, but I do feel like there's some of that depth that's missing on Skillshare. I haven't seen many artists go into as depth in their classes as I've seen with like concept art. So it's something that I'm considering trying to integrate into my courses more, is bringing in a little bit more of that complexity and depth that I've been learning over the past couple years. I don't know. This is so confusing to me. Which way are we going? Here we go. Yeah, Mel, totally. I think it's, I'm gonna tell you that when I started drawing, okay, so I say I've been drawing for 12 years. It's not entirely true, obviously. It's more just that I've been drawing very, like, extremely regularly for the past 12 years. But I did do a bunch of drawing when I was 18, 19, something like that. And maybe one day I'll share with you guys my sketchbooks from that era, because that is something to see. But what I did, most of what I did was trying to draw people, actually. And I sucked at it. I was really not very good at it. Or I was okay at it if I had a photo reference. Drawing from photo reference, I always found a little easier because you could, see the proportions and stuff, but definitely from my imagination, I really wasn't very good at it. And that's the thing that's really tough, and which is what I'm trying to expand in my own practice in recent years, is to really strengthen my drawing from imagination muscles. And I don't like that word or that way of saying it, because I've been drawing from imagination for a long time, and I mean a lot of what I teach in terms of creativity is that. So it's not really that, it's more drawing accurate form from imagination. Maybe that's the way, like without reference. Drawing real figurative things without reference muscle. that's the muscle, which is a very, very hard one to develop, but definitely fun challenge. Somehow this seems done to me. almost done. Maybe I'll just add a little of this. Maybe not actually. Okay. Didn't I say I was gonna do cabins? Alright. I did say that. I guess I'll just mention it just in case you're curious, but you know, when I said earlier that I've had harder months with more symptoms, it's actually kind of true and not true. There's been a big shift recently, which is, you know, I used to have like a lot of dissociation and flashbacks, which, I mean, I still do have a lot of flashbacks, but the biggest change for me has been I've had like, instead of alternating between severe dissociation and then flashbacks, I've been more present, so almost no dissociation anymore, and then sometimes I'll have flashbacks. And so it's been like a very strange new new era in that respect. Like, so in some ways harder, because when you're not dissociating, you get to feel all this shit. So that's fun. I don't draw people either. Oh, no. Would you have comments on how to unify? Oh, very good question, Mel. Awesome. The question is, would you have comments on how to unify a piece when using 3 different materials? I'm going to tell you what comes to mind immediately, which is kind of a rule that I use in terms of unifying any sort of piece, is rhythm. Have you heard of rhythm? I may have spoken about it very briefly in some live sessions, but it's one of these more complex composition principles that I don't often hear talked about. Rhythm is very simply the repetition of shapes. So just like in music, rhythm is the thing that kind of lends a structure to the musical piece. In a visual, you just have to think of that in a visual form. So what are the repeating yet varied shapes that you can echo within your piece? Another thing that I would maybe call upon is kind of like an offshoot of that. I would say, like, and I've never heard of it in this way, which is interesting. Maybe it's something that I could bring into my own class if I teach a class on this. Color rhythm. So like, let's say you have, you know, 3 different materials that are 3 different colors. And so you have one element that's like this, one that's here, and one that's there. I will take little pieces of the color and bring it into other areas of my piece to balance it out. So it's kind of like shape rhythm, but it's more color rhythm. I haven't like formalized it like out loud. So yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense? But maybe, you know what? I'm gonna try the 3 materials challenge, and then maybe I'll have more answers to that question. What am I gonna use? Let's try. For some reason, I really want this highlighter. And I want some sort of pencil, but maybe that one. It's been fun. I've been seeing my colored pencils get really small, which is, you know, always a testament that you're using them a lot, which is fun. Okay. What's my third material going to be? Maybe let's say gouache. Why don't I do gouache? But I don't know what color. Do I want to use these three? Let me see if I have a place where I can just test something out. I just want to see if I like these three materials together because, you know, if you don't like the color palette, it ain't fun. That is kind of fun. Yeah, I could get into that. All right. So, remember Gertrude? This was during one of our, oh no, it was a Cozy Art Cafe date. I was so bummed that I missed this Monday's because it was about space, and I've been on a super, I don't know what you call it, a deep dive into all the congressional hearings about the UFOs. So space is like on my mind. It's been really fun if you haven't heard it. All right. So let me just, I'm gonna have a look very quickly at some cabins, and I'm gonna just take loose inspiration from some of these. Okay. All right. Let's get rid of these and just go to here. I've actually never tried this 3 materials challenge. It's gonna be interesting. Just trying to think a little. I'm gonna maybe use the paint, because since you're using only three materials, then it means you need to think about like how can you wield each one, the level of detail which you can get. So I think I'm gonna make my cabin maybe this gouache thing. This is me being lazy and not using a palette, which, welcome to my world. Just gonna try to make some sort of cabin-like shape. I'm really not making this easy for myself without the palette. Sometimes laziness makes things more difficult. But I kind of like the idea of stilts, but that made a very big line, which is not what I wanted. Whatever. I'm just playing around, so. Alright, so this is my base color for my cabin, kinda. Just gonna add a few more diagonal lines for this structure. Guess I'll thicken that one up. get too distracted by details here, which I am currently getting distracted by. Simple shape. Okay. So that's one material. Let me add some of this. Wow, it's funny. So 3 materials is really limited. This was a great question, Mel. It's definitely more limited than what I would have a tendency to use. Like, either if I'm using many materials, then I'm using many materials, or I'm using like 1 or 2. 3 is like that middle spot. So I'm gonna just add some trees, maybe. So what I'm really trying to do right now is really just think in terms of simple shapes, not getting too caught up in the details, because that's always something that I can build on later. But I do want to make sure that I like the shapes that I'm creating. And so what's interesting is like this highlighter, which is like a marker, you know, you can of course see the overlapping marks. Sorry, my brain farted. I was like, what's the word? But so already you can see that what I did here, I already started applying that principle that I was talking about rhythm. Just not a lot, but just in a few ways. So for example, you know, the stilts, which were very thin lines, I decided to use a thin line also for my tree, even though it's a different color. And so that's already like unifying it, because it's calling to the language that I established in the other one. Does that make sense? So it's like just finding these echoes, these connections within the shapes. And then, you know, obviously here there's, you know, my tree, and then this one is echoed here. And this one is obviously a different shape. It's more pointy, less organic. But it has like a similar size, I guess, to this shape. And so there's also some sort of, I think, correspondence between that. But I would say also, and this is a separate thing, in a drawing, there's this basic rule that, again, you hear all the time in the concept art world, but I rarely hear talked about, is the notion of big, medium, small. And that pleasing images often have an interesting proportion of big shapes, medium shapes, and small shapes. And so, like, I don't think about it anymore as much, but if you look at my work, you'll notice that I often have this balance of bigger shapes, medium shapes, and then tiny shapes. And that automatically creates interest, like visual interest. And so I think if you echo kind of, and when I say that, it's not like there's one size of big, one size of medium, one size of small. Like, you get to choose how big your big is, how big your medium is, how big your small is. Yeah, I'm like touching on something that's pretty complex, actually, because, you know, you still need to be able to tell big, medium, small, but it can be like huge, medium, small. It can be huge, medium, tiny. It can be, do you see what I mean? So it's like really this balance. So to come back to your question of how you can unify, I would say another thing, which is what you're seeing me do now, which is overlapping materials. And, you know, I can also just add tiny little details. But I'm also going to do the color rhythm. So for example, if I decide I want to add a window, I'm going to add a window here. That's that olive green color. And it'll be modified a little bit because of my lavender that's underneath it. That lavender, yeah. But and I'm also going to, so I would go probably on top of that with some more gouache to add the detail of the window a little bit more. But I'm going to add some windows here, but I'm going to keep the slightly evanescent kind of ghostly feel that I used on the paint here. So here I went really with a hard edge, and I'm not entirely sure that was the right call, but that's okay. That helped give me the idea, oh yeah, I want to keep that same sort of ghostly feel maybe to my cabin. And so you can already see that just by adding that color, maybe I'll show you more in detail. Wait, the light is really shit at the moment. Sorry about that. There we go. That already unifies it a little bit more. I don't know if you can see what I mean by that. And I could even just like in the details, I could just have, you know, I'm not going to maybe put it everywhere, but just on a few of these lines. I don't know if that answers your question, Mel. Is it limited to one of each? Yes. This is what I mean, Steph. It's like I'm finding it way harder than I thought it would, I gotta say. But it's a good challenge. Okay, good. I'm glad, Mel. I'm curious actually what materials you are using if you're doing the 3 materials challenge. And see, right now I only put the green in the blue, but I could also add some of my pale lavender into my green. So that would be another way of echoing it. I'm not sure I'm gonna do that, and I'll tell you why. It's because that might be too balanced in the sense of it would maybe kind of take away from the visual interest. So it's like there's some sort of sweet spot that I find personally, like when between like balancing things out and maintaining kind of surprise or visual interest. Watercolor, color pencil, and marker. Yeah, okay, so yeah, those are hard materials to marry. Kind of like, that's actually kind of similar to what I did, except for gouache. I did gouache instead of the watercolor. My phone dinged, but I don't know why. I feel like something I'm just wondering about at some point. Sorry, this is unrelated to art. I just was wondering if, like, on my obs thing that I'm sharing with you, like, can I, like, lighten things, brighten them up, or show, like, because, for example, right now, you know, the phone is not always, I find, very good at representing the colors very well. So I wonder if there would be a way to, on obs, to, like, increase the contrast a little so you can see the colors better. Curious about that. I'm pretty happy with that. I think what I would change is just the hard edge of the colored pencil that I did on the round window. So I'm gonna maybe just erase it, and that'll increase the soft edgeness of it. And I said I was gonna add gouache on the, but I'm not gonna, because I like the sort of ghostly feel of it. So my value range is actually pretty low here, but I don't mind. Oh, maybe that's another thing, Mel, is that another way to unify is to remember that each one of your colors has a value, and so you can group values. That means like putting similar values together, even if they're different colors. And so then that will automatically unify them because they have that same value underneath. I'm like, I didn't realize, but I look like an illusion over here. It's like it's like one of those Andy Warhol or, you know, pop art comic book things. Anyway. Yeah, so I think the way that you unify is by taking the principles that you know of, whether that's value or color or shape or, what am I forgetting? There's tons more. Texture or, there's many more. I'm blanking. But thinking of those things and then seeing how you can pull them together with your materials. Seeing how you can echo them and balance them. Yeah. Maybe I should do a class on that. It could be fun. Ooh, I didn't see the time. Let me just switch this to, where are we on obs? Here we go. Hi again. Maybe I'll just be over here so it'll be less of a thing. So how was it for you? The 3 materials challenge? Or the just playing on whatever it is that you were working on? You can let me know in the chat, or you can come off mute. That's fine, either way.
Hey, yeah, I'm gonna switch my camera so you can see.
Oh, sweet. Awesome, yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'd love that.
There you go.
Oh, so fun.
This is the first one, and I feel like it's super flat, because just like, okay, I'm gonna do the markers, the pencil, the watercolor, and I'm done.
Yes.
And I wonder if it's also too much different styles. You know, like the marker has its own way to go, but the watercolor, I don't know. But with what you said, I kind of unified everything.
Ooh.
It's a little dark too, but...
oh, it's so cute. I want to live there.
I mean, none of them, I love them very much, but I feel like there's a progression on how to make things work together.
Yeah, so it's actually kind of interesting because even the one on the right, the first one, I actually think it really works. But I think the frustration that you're talking about, or that you had, is that that's not the effect that you wanted. You wanted it to be more unified.
Probably, yeah. Doesn't make sense here for me.
Right. But it does, like, I just want you to know that it does work. Because you followed some sort of rules, and so as someone who's seeing it from the outside, it's like I can pick up on those rules, and it still has, like, it's visually interesting because of the fact that it has this very clear separation. So just to say that there's nothing wrong with that. That's all I mean.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with that, but it's like what is the effect that you want? And so if you want to have something that's a little bit more connected and a little bit less flat, because for sure, like you said, because of the fact that you've separated each one of the
yeah, they have their own each of them have their own space.
Yes.
And maybe that's parti pris, right? That's something
yes.
I could decide. Maybe that's the thing, is that I didn't know where I wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea though of it, and all those houses. You obsessed me with it. I can't get out of it.
That's amazing. I mean, it's great. There's something very, like, surreal about it, which I really love. Like, ooh, what are all these little houses? Like, what dimension do they live in? It's awesome.
Well, thank you. I think I got some stuff from what you said, so
awesome.
I'll continue.
I'm really glad. And yeah, and then the second one that you did is really very lovely and very sweet, and it's, yeah, like you said, it's interesting because I don't see the different materials. So if you look at both of them, like the one on the right, I can tell that there's different visual languages for each one of the, like, the houses, the hills, whatever. And like I said, that, like you said, it's a parti pris. But in the second one, it's like I don't even know that you're using different materials. So you really did unify them, which is cool. That's awesome.
All right. Yeah, it's like one way and the other.
Yeah.
Not unified and totally unified.
Yeah. So totally. So sorry, I'm just gonna. Yeah. So that's what's cool, is that I think what's great with your example is that you can see the range. And it's not that there's one that's like better or worse than the other. It's really just like, what is it that you're looking for in your piece? And then you can play around
right.
in the middle of that spectrum and just have fun. Like, oh, okay, well, what if I did it partially all separate, but then I echo some things, or the opposite? I make something very unified, but there's one thing that really stands out. I don't know. It's like, yeah, it can be fun. Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Steph or Laura, would you like to share? No pressure, obviously. Okay, wait, let me spotlight you if that's okay. Oh, your little squares! I love them.
I'm trying them on canvas, and I'm not, like, it's amazing how once you change the support, like, the whole thing is different.
Yeah. And you're not liking it? Or...
But, I don't know. I don't work on canvas very often, but, like, and I'm not sure it's gonna show, but, like, here, when I made this one, like, the palette went, like, made all little lines as if it was, like, skipping on every bit of texture. Once it dries, apparently it doesn't show as much, but yeah, I don't know. I'll see what's
You don't sound convinced. I love it, but
like, I had, like Mel said, you know, I had, like, an idea and it's not looking like I thought. So we'll see.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if that helps, Steph, but I've heard of people who will take their canvases and then add, like, a underlayer of flat gesso, like a pretty thick layer of gesso, or maybe not super thick, or maybe some other, I don't know, because I've never done it, so you'd have to experiment. But to get that kind of smooth surface. Otherwise, wooden canvases, have you ever tried that?
No, but it's been on my mind lately.
Because they're very fun.
I think you have something there.
I loved drawing on wood. I haven't done it in a while, but it's just so smooth, and so it has some of the similarities of maybe for your project, I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be the right thing just because of the texture of the wood underneath, and so that would take away from seeing the little squares. I don't know. But
there's only one way to know, right?
Yeah, you gotta try it.
Yeah, I will.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Laura says, post a little later what I did. I struggled with soft pastels and the dust they make. My fingers are all full with different colors. Aw, yay. That's the best part, though. When you have the dirty hands, there's proof of your creativity. And yeah, I'd love to see what you made if you feel like sharing in Discord later or whatever. And if any of you end up sharing on Instagram the 3 materials challenge, I'd also recommend maybe including the 3 materials challenge hashtag. Just because, I don't know, if you want. But yeah, thank you so much. I had a really fun time. It was a short and sweet little hour getting creative with you. And our live session, the regular, like not regular, but you know what I mean, the other one, the bigger one, is going to be on the 18th, and I'm so excited about the subject. I haven't totally finished preparing it, but the theme is going to be animal architecture, which I don't know if you know what that means. But animals are interesting things, and they create some pretty interesting homes. And so I'm just going to have like some examples. I guess I'll just tell you a few of the ones that I've currently found. There are these birds that are called sociable weaver birds who create these massive sociable nests that are incredible visually, like wow, like gold mine. But then also I've found all these bugs that create homes for themselves that I've never seen anything like it. I shared a few maybe on Instagram. There's one bug, for example, who creates these little log cabins on its shell is like a little log cabin. It's the cutest freaking thing. Yeah, so I thought it would be a great like continuation of our cabin exploration to just continue into more like animal created homes. and see the intersections there. I don't know, could be fun. So yeah, thank you so much for joining in, and I will see you all very soon. Bye everybody.